Good evening. Everybody got quiet. I guess it's time to start. Glad you're here. Glad you're here as always. We're going to be looking to Judges tonight. We started last week talking about the Judges, and we're going to be on them for a few weeks, looking at the book of Judges and the Judges in particular that we find there. We'll begin with a word of prayer, and Glenn Barden, would you lead some prayer, please?
Heaven, thank you for the day and the blessings of life and keeping us safe and healthy through today. Fifth part of the week. Pray that as we assemble tonight, we'll focus our attention upon worshiping you, letting the things of the world go that are important to us and our daily activities, and just focus on Eddie's lesson tonight. Pray for the sick. Father, ask you to be with them and those that have lost loved ones, comfort them. Father, forgive us of our sins as we repent and turn from you, and help us to realize our error and not make the same mistakes again. Father, help us to always look to you for guidance and as in these judges, and that these people that would just sin and come back to you and then go into sin again. Father, help us not to be that way as we strive to do thy will each and every day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We're in chapter 4 of Judges, chapter 4. Verses 1 and 2. And some of these names, I'm just going to skip. Well, I can't pronounce them. If somebody can, I'd love for you to come up here on the front pew. When I get to that name, I point, and you can pronounce it. And the thing about when you get to, you can have two people who know how to break it all down, vowels and syllables, and you can say something to them, and both of them have a different pronunciation of it. But anyway, there's some tough ones in there. But in chapter 4 and verse 1, when Ehud was dead, the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor, and the commander of his army was Sisera. So Ehud was the second judge that came in on site here, and he died, and while he rescued the people, while for a while there they were serving faithfully, when he died, well, here they go. They didn't have a strong leader. So he was a leader at the time, had them going in the right direction, but when he died, things went downhill pretty quick. And of course, this Sisera, he's going to be a main character here as the new judge comes on scene here. And we see in verse 3, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord, for Jabin had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he harshly oppressed the children of Israel. So for 20 years, this Jabin, this king, he brought them into captivity to somewhat slaves, mistreating them. 20 years ago, it didn't have to be 20 years, it didn't have to be anything at all if they'd been faithful to God. But for 20 years, they were oppressed. And as they always do, when it really got bad, they cry out to God, and of course, God hears them. Hears them. He's going to send them a deliverer. And in verses 4 and 5, we find that deliverer is Deborah. Now, Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was judging Israel at that time. And she was sit under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the mountains of Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. So Deborah is a prophetess. She was probably a prophetess before she was a judge. She was well respected by the people. Either they named this tree after her, or it's a place that she was known to be. Anyway, the people knew where to go to and find her and talk to her about things that were on their mind. So she was popular. The people loved her. The people trusted her. And she spoke the truth when individuals would come to her. In verse 6, then she sent and called for Barak, the son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, has not the Lord God of Israel commanded, go and deploy troops at Mount Tabor? Take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali and the sons of Zebulun. So now she's become this judge as well as a prophetess. She is relaying this message to Barak, who is the commander of Israel's army. God said, it's time to go deliver. Get 10,000 together, go to Mount Tabor, and you'll receive instructions on what to do once you get there. So there's the instructions that Deborah has given to Barak. But Barak, he's not fully confident in himself, because here's what he wants to do next in verse 8 and 9. And Barak said to her, if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. So she said, I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, there will be no glory for you in the journey you are taking, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. Then Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. It was not proper. They did not allow women to go into battle. She couldn't do it as far as do the fighting. But she'll go and look on at a distance, and that'll be enough. So Barak has the confidence in her and what she has said, that they will be victorious. And her being there will represent God's presence among the battle. He'll be with Israel, and he feels this is good. I can taste the victory already because she is going to be there. Then in verse 10, and Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh. He went up with 10,000 men under his command, and Deborah went up with him. So they get organized to have the men. Deborah goes, and they're waiting for instructions on what to do next. Now in verse 11 and 12, this has got the attention of someone. They have noticed that Israel's getting the army together, and they're fixing to go into battle. And in verse 11, we'll find this fellow by the name of Heber. Now Heber, the Kenite, of the children of Hobah, the father-in-law of Moses, had separated himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent near the Terebinth tree at wherever Zaman, which is beside Kadesh. And they reported to Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor. So these Kenite people, they were kin to a group of individuals. They were kin to Moses, Moses' father-in-law. It didn't mean that Moses' father-in-law was there, but they were a group that came from that side. Israel allowed them to live in their land of Judah. They could live there because of their connection to Moses. So Israel said, you're not one of the 12 tribes, but you can live here. So they allowed them to live there, as long as they were peaceful. Well, this one man, Heber there, for some reason, he looked at the situation, and he had to make a choice. Now, who I want to be served under? Under the Sisera here, or I want to serve under, Israel. And his thinking is, well, Israel is no match to these people, because we'll see later, Israel didn't even have any weapons. No weapons to fight with. And this guy here, Sisera, he's got a massive army that's well equipped. And you look at the two, and Heber says, let me go tell Sisera what's going on. And he reports to him of how Barak has got his army together, and they're getting ready to attack, and so he's trying to get on the good side here. So when this thing goes down, and he thinks that Sisera is going to win, then he's going to be well rewarded, he hopes, because he sort of went ahead and told what was happening. Verse 13. So Sisera gathered together all his chariots, 900 chariots of iron, and all the people who were with him. And there's where they're from. So that's a lot of people. That's a lot of chariots. You got chariots, you got horses, and you got those who are on foot, who will use bows and arrows and every other weapon they have. So this is a very powerful army, very intimidating army that they're going to go up against. Israel will. So Sisera's ready to go. In verse 14, then Deborah said to Barak, up. For this is the day in which the Lord has delivered Sisera into your hand. Has not the Lord gone out before you? So Barak went down to Mount Tabor with 10,000 men following him. So Deborah says it's time to go to war. So Barak, okay, I understand they don't have any weapons. Maybe I'll pick up a rock or something or a stick. And they're going into battle against these 900 chariots. They're fully equipped. So they're going in faith. They're stepping out here in faith that the Lord's going to be victorious with them. And verse 15 and 16, and the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots. Now the word there, routed, that means confusion. The Lord was involved in this. It wasn't that Israel was just overpowered them, but whenever the battle started, God did something to this Sisera and his army, and they were confused. Maybe they didn't know who the enemy was. Maybe the horses began to collide with each other. The chariots did, and things were just topsy-turvy here, and they didn't know what was going on. Something went on here. But here, he routed Sisera and all his chariots and all his army with the edge of the sword before Barak. And Sisera alighted from his chariot and fled away on foot. And Barak pursued the chariots and the army as far as where they went there. And all the army of Sisera fled or fell by the edge of the sword. Not a man was left. So there's the outcome of the battle. Everybody is killed except one person, the commander of the army, old Sisera. And he's running on foot, trying to hide. And he finds somewhere to hide. Verse 17 and 18. However, Sisera had fled away on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Remember who Heber was? Heber was the man that went to Sisera and told him, here's where Barak and army are gathered. They're fixing to attack, and you better be ready for it. We don't know if Heber's alive or not, but his wife is. I think the guy got killed in the battle. That's just my thought on that, because he's not really mentioned anymore as being alive and well. You know, he turned his back on Israel, some of his own kinfolk, and he was probably maybe with Sisera when all the battle was occurring, and very well he could have died. But Sisera, he goes to the tent of Jael, his wife there, the Kenite, and there it says, for there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, turn aside, my lord, turn aside to me, do not fear. For when he had turned aside with her into the tent, she covered him with a blanket. So she invites him into her house. And I'll protect you. They'll never think to look here. Verse 19 and 20. Then he said to her, please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. So she opened a jug of milk, gave him a drink, and covered him. And he said to her, stand at the door of the tent If any man comes and inquires of you and says, is there any man here? You shall say no. So Sisera here wants some milk and cookies. She gives him something to eat. He's going to take him a little nap. He's tired. Been in battle all day. So, and gives her instruction. Verse 21. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a tent peg and took a hammer in her hand and went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple. He went down into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. Her intentions all along here, I'm going to kill him. Why does she hate him so much? Why does she want to kill him? I think she knows that they have lost the battle. Sisera, this over. Now she's wanting to get on the good side of Israel. So if I kill him, well, maybe they will respect me. Maybe they'll see that I'm not like my husband. How my husband sort of betrayed kinfolk here. Here I am, I'm taking him out of battle. I think that was probably her thinking right here. Not just to kill him, but trying to help herself a little bit. Maybe protect her. If she has any other family members, protect them. So Sisera here, he's dead. 22 and 23. And then as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said to him, come, I will show you the man whom you seek. And when he went into her tent, there lay Sisera dead with a peg in his temple. So on that day, God subdued Jabin, king of Canaan, in the presence of the children of Israel. So Sisera is dead. Jael here, she's known for this. Remember what Deborah told Barak. You may take him down, but you're not going to get credit for it, because a woman, I think we read that, but a woman, Deborah told Barak here, she's going to get the credit for it. And he didn't complain about that. That's fine. Let her get the credit as long as we are victorious. And sure enough, victorious, and Barak went on and got the king there of Canaan, got him as well. And in verse 24, and the hand of the children of Israel grew stronger and stronger against Jabin, king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan. So they got the king. They got the commander of the army. They got them all. So God was with them all the way. So Deborah was the leader of this. She was the judge. And that's what judges did. They would rescue Israel from their slavery, rescue them, and put them back where they would need to be. Now, because of what happened here, Deborah and Barak, they write a song. And that's what chapter 5 is about, a song, telling about this victory. Now, we're not going to look at every verse that's there, just some of the ones that sort of stand out. But here's a song, and it's going to be focused around Jael and what she did and how she killed Sisera. Verse 1, then Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, sang on that day, saying, in verse 2, when the leaders lead in Israel, when the people willingly offer themselves, bless the Lord. When leaders lead, when people do their job as well, they'll be blessed by God. And not only was that true in the time of Israel, it's true even today. You got to have leaders who will lead. You got to have people who will do their job, followers who will do the job. And that's important to have. Same thing applies. When leaders don't lead, when people don't do their job, there's going to be destruction. There's going to be sin that's going to come in and carry the people away. Now, remember here, I don't know how it went about to be sung, but they would sing this. Then in verse 6 and 7, in the days of Shamgar, son of Anath, in the days of Jael. Remember, Jael's the woman who drove the pin through his head. The highways were deserted, and the travelers walked along the byways. Village life ceased. It ceased in Israel until I, Deborah, arose, a mother in Israel. So times were bad during this time before Deborah straightened it out for that 20-year period. You couldn't even walk on the highway somewhere without, being robbed, or beaten up, maybe killed. It was a very treacherous time because the enemy, remember, had come in and was pretty much controlling the people. So it's a place you didn't want to be. Much like maybe you've been in some places before that you might say, I wouldn't want to go back there. I wouldn't go there at night because if I go there at night, I may not come out. I've been in a few of those. Glad I got out. And here she was talking about the times, how it was. In verse 8, they chose new gods. Then there was war in their gates. Not a shield or spear was seen among 40,000 in Israel. They began to choose these new gods. And when the war came, they didn't have anything to fight with. Not a shield or a spear. Nothing was there. So that's when they went into battle earlier, 10,000 of them, they didn't have anything. Nothing to fight with. But they didn't need anything because God was with them. So God used Israel, his hands or whatever. Maybe they got into battle, they got some weapons from the enemy. Maybe they got that and used it on them, whatever. But at the beginning, they didn't have any. And then in 24 through 26, here they're going to describe, she's going to describe what happened to Sisera. Most blessed among women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Blessed is she among women in tents. He asked for water, she gave milk. She brought out cream in a lordy bowl. Lordy bowl is a large bowl. She stretched her hand to the tent peg, her right hand to the workman's hammer. She pounded Sisera. She pierced his head. She split and struck through his temple. 4 words. She pounded, she pierced, she split, and she struck. Some think she just divided his head in two. Just sort of like you would cut a watermelon. It just laid open. You don't get over that. I don't care how fast you get to an ER, you don't get over it. So she put it on him. She made sure he was dead. And then in verse 28, the mother of Sisera looked through the window and cried out through the lattice, "Why is his chariot so long in coming? Who tarries to clatter? Why tarries the clatter of his chariots?" So they sing about his mother, Sisera's mother. Where is he? He should be home by now. You think he's a grown man out here doing battle. But there might be a reason why she says this. Don't know, might be. Where is he? He should be home by now. And in verse 29 and 30, she has women around her, servants, I'm sure. Her wisest ladies answer her, yes. He should be home by now. And they say, yes, he should be. And she begins to go through her mind why he's late. She answered herself. Here's what she's thinking. Are they not finding and dividing the spoil? To every man a girl or two? For Sisera plundered the dyed garments, plunder of garments embroidered and dyed, 2 pieces of dyed embroidery for the neck of the looter. She's probably thinking, he should be home by now and bringing me all this, fabric and everything, more servants and all these wonderful things. I think that's what she was wanting more than her son ready to come back. Where is he? Where's all the goods he generally brings me? All the gifts and things that he should bring to me. So I think she was more concerned about what she's going to receive than what she was really concerned about her son going off into battle. And then verse 31, then let all your enemies perish, O Lord, but let those who love him be like the sun when it comes out in full strength. So the land had rest for 40 years. So under Deborah's guidance, being a judge, 40 years they had peace until Deborah dies. There's really nobody there to lead them. And here they go. They go back. And that's where the next judge comes in, has to deliver them out. But at least this generation, they learned from their mistakes. 40 years, that's a generation. I don't know how well they taught the next generation. You'd think they would have stayed faithful, but they didn't. But they learned their lesson. 20 years in captivity was enough. And now they have 40 years of peace, prosperity among them. And Deborah was a good leader. And God was with them. God was with her. And she guided the people in a very good way. So she's the third judge. Third judge. And again, each judge, very similar. Going to deliver them out. Not all the judges were good. Some were better than others. But we'll get to those eventually. Anything on Deborah? Okay. About time for the bell. We'll take up next week. Another judge.
And watch the fleeting changes of life's uneven ways. But if my Savior calls me to that sweet home on high, I'll live with Him forever in glory by and by. Oh yes, I'll live in glory by and by. I'll tell and sing love stories, there on high, there with my dear Redeemer, there no more to die. Oh yes, I'll live in glory by and by. The end I know is near me, by faith I look away to yonder on supernal, the land of endless day. I'll cling to Him forever and look beyond the sky and live with Him forever in glory by and by. Oh yes, I'll live in glory by and by. I'll tell and sing love stories, there on high, there with my dear Redeemer, there no more to die. Oh yes, I'll live in glory by and by. Next song will be I Want to Be a Worker. I want to be a worker. After this song, Brother Raymond will bring some message. I want to be a worker from in grace. I want to trust in truth how to serve. I want to sing and pray and be busy every day in the vineyard of the Lord. I will work, I will pray in the vineyard of the Lord. I will work, I will pray, I will labor every day in the vineyard of the Lord. I want to be a worker strong and brave. I want to trust in Jesus, try to save. All who have truly come shall find a happy home in the kingdom of the Lord. I will work, I will pray in the vineyard of the Lord. I will work, I will pray, I will labor every day in the vineyard of the Lord. Song of invitation will be Nothing But the Blood.
When something historic in life occurs, most of us, we remember it for the rest of our lives. Where were you on September 11th, 2001? I was sitting in my third grade class in Miss Hyatt's room when someone came and told Miss Hyatt to turn on the TV and turn it on to the news. I remember sitting there with my classmates in disbelief of what we were watching, and just remember throughout the rest of the day that in every class that we went to, the TV was turned on to that channel. And I just remember watching, the aftermath of the attacks on 9/11. And I remember thinking to myself, I really hope that my dad is not, doesn't have to respond there. Now, of course, we were a small town in North Georgia, but to a third grader at that time, I didn't really know if, he would actually volunteer to go up there or not. But we remember certain things after first hearing about a disaster or a tragedy. And the security industry has become a huge business because of this. Otherwise there would be no markets for, burglar alarms, smoke detectors, security systems, all the Ring doorbells and things that people have now, guard dogs, and even weapons people buy to defend their homes and to defend their family. We do this out of fear. We purchase all of these things and these products in an attempt to somehow prevent our most valuable possessions from being snatched out of our hands. You know, the most valuable, though, yet least considered, God-given treasure is our souls. We know we must protect our families and we got to protect our homes and we go and buy all of these things to do it, but we don't have any urgency to secure our souls as well. Now, David, he understood this when he wrote in Psalm 16, verses 1 and 2, "Keep me safe, O God, for in you I take refuge. Apart from you I have no good thing." Now, a refuge, it's more than a shelter. You know, it's a place of safety and protection. When you were a kid, and if you were like me, sometimes, depending on where you were at when a storm was going on, you know, if you were in a trailer or a house, the storms made different noises. And I remember whenever I was younger and I'd stay at my grandma's house, and it was a double-wide trailer, and the wind would blow, and it would sound like a woman shrieking, you know, up against that trailer. And it would scare me to death, and I would want to be in my safe space or in my refuge. Now, when you were a young kid, most of the time where you felt the safest was with your mom and dad or was with your parents. And when life storms rattle the windows of our souls, we need to do the exact same thing. We need to run to the Father. David did in Psalm going on in chapter 16, verses 8 and 9. He says, "I have set the Lord always before me, because he is my right hand. I will not be shaken, therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body will also rest secure." You know, some people, they'll pay anything to protect their temporary treasures of this earth, but they don't do anything to protect their souls. They don't do anything to prepare for eternity. You know, Jesus promises to protect our eternal treasures in heaven. In Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 21, he says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." I ask you tonight, are you doing anything to protect your soul, or are you like the people who are just trying to buy up things to protect your home and maybe your family or all of these other goods that we have? Because if that's you, we can't take it with us whenever we go. It stays here. So we need to be on guard. We need to be protecting our soul. We need to be, you know, in God's Word and here at worship and studying our Bible and talking to God daily. If you've been the latter, though, and you've been one who's worried more about possessions than your soul, why not make that right tonight? Ask God to forgive you of putting other things above Him, and ask God to help you in your life to make sure that He is your number one priority, to make sure that you are focusing on protecting your soul against this world. If you have never, you know, thought about it and never decided to put Christ on in baptism and have never become a child of God, you can do that tonight. You can put Him on in baptism for the remission of your sins and walk anew. If you have any spiritual need, come now as we stand and sing.
What can wash away? What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Nothing can for sin atone, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Not the good that I have done, nothing but the blood of Jesus. Oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know, nothing but the blood of Jesus.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. I'd like to thank our visitors that are here with us. And if you're ever in the area again, we'd love to have you come and worship with us again.